Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for being here. We'll get started now with the Sisters annual webinar for 2024, how to reduce food waste without losing profits, with a special eye toward food waste at the retail or marketing level. First, I'm going to give some policy updates about the Waste Framework Directive. This is based on the work that I've done this past year alongside a colleague of mine from the Zero Waste Project. If you were here for the presentation during the Sisters conference, you might know a bit of what I'm talking about. I'll elaborate on it in this presentation. First, an overview of the Waste Framework Directive, so we're all on the same page about it. The Waste Framework Directive was introduced all the way back in 2008, establishing some of the fundamental principles around waste management in the EU. These include the waste hierarchy, which sets the basis for all legislation on waste following it. It prioritises reduce schemes and deprioritises landfill or recover schemes. The hierarchy gives an indication of what kinds of solutions should be most prevalent or sought after before moving on to other kinds of solutions. The directive also introduced standardized kinds of recycling techniques and the concept of extended producer responsibility, as well as the notion that producers of waste should pay the cost for managing it, otherwise known as the polluter pays principle. Now, all of this was a significant step at the time, yet it's far from perfect, and we'll get into that later. For now, let me reassure you that it was and still is a very much needed piece of legislation. According to a Food and Agriculture Organization report from the UN, 1/3 of all food produced globally for human consumption is wasted or lost. That's about 1 billion tons of food. In the EU, we produce about 58 million tons of waste per year compared to the global 1 billion. So that figure represents about 10% of the food meant for human consumption in the EU. It's a lot better than the global average of 1/3, but it's definitely not ideal. And it's even less so when 38% of Europeans can't afford to eat 3 meals per day anymore. So the food we waste each year represents about 132 billion euros, which goes to waste. It shows just how much governments, companies, and people can save by reducing that waste. Something to keep in mind before we continue is that the EU has recognised the incredible waste that food waste represents. The cost to our wallets, the carbon emissions generated for squandered food, and the slap in the face it represents for all the consumers who can't even afford food at all. So that's why in 2015, the EU agreed to the UN's Sustainable Development Goal 12.3, which calls for halving food waste by 2030. Now back to the WFD, this is where our work comes in. Together with a colleague of mine from Zero Waste, we've joined a small coalition of like-minded organisations to pool our resources and conduct an advocacy activity within European institutions. This coalition consists of the European Environmental Bureau, Feedback EU, SAFE, Too Good To Go, and Zero Waste Europe. Our purpose is first and foremost to advocate for higher food waste reduction targets, ideally 50% by 2030, in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goal. We've produced various written materials in pursuit of this, including a policy brief and joint letter. So where does that leave us right now? Admittedly, not in a great place. From what we've learned, the Council is very hesitant to approve higher targets, especially binding ones. Anything higher than the Parliament's proposal is almost certainly dead on arrival. Even the Parliament's own proposal is very much at risk at the moment if the Council doesn't relent. In fact, negotiations are dragging on a lot more than we expected. And trilogues should have taken place by now, but they're expected to continue into 2025 because of severe delays. So I'll end on something interesting I did learn from some Parliament contacts. The Council's fervent opposition to higher targets and the Waste Framework Directive seems to be based in a matter of principle to them, rather than policy feasibility. So this makes it really difficult to get anywhere, since we're not speaking the same language anymore. We're not talking about what works, what is achievable, instead talking about what values and what ought to be the case. So the council, or at least most of them anyway, seem to believe that waste just shouldn't be an EU competence. And the Commission's original proposal was kind of an olive branch to them to get them to the table in the first place. And it's very unlikely that they will accept anything higher than that. And in fact, even the Commission's proposal is very much at risk. They may negotiate even lower targets than what the Commission wants. Ultimately, it remains to be seen. But from what we've heard inside EU institutions, it's not looking very favourable. But that concludes the policy presentation. If there's any questions, I can answer those. Otherwise, we can move on to the presentation by Eroski. If anyone online has a question, you can also raise your hand and I will see you. Okay, I think we can move on. I'll hand it over to Eroski for the presentation.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So my name is Amaya Uriarte. I'm part of the innovation team of Eroski. Eroski is part both of the Sisters project and also of the Zero Waste project. So if you can move please to the next slide. So I will explain briefly. Eroski is the first distribution group for consumer goods and services of cooperative nature in Spain. We are the fourth market operator in Spain, and as you can see in the map on the right side of the slide, we are mainly located in the north part of the country, where we have more than 20% of the market share. So we are a cooperative of consumers with more than 6 million customers affiliated to the company. We have more than 1,500 stores, and we work with more than 9,000 suppliers. So if you can move please to the next slide. So reducing the food waste, of course, is one of the top 10 commitments of the company towards sustainability and also the promotion of healthy diets. In fact, we have since 2015, I think, our own program to zero waste program. It's called in English. So we run different actions that I will briefly explain later, but just to make you an idea, through these different initiatives I will explain, in the first half of this year, we have prevented around 10,000 tons of food waste. So this amounts to a total of 34 million meals, equivalent to feeding nearly 9,500 families for a year. So yes, just to remark that reducing food waste is one of the key commitments of Eroski. So if you can move to the next slide, please. I will briefly explain the different actions and also the relation to the Sisters project. The first one, of course, the most obvious ones are the stock and order optimization and improving the cold chain. So regarding the optimization of the stock, we use different systems to align orders and stock levels with customer demands to minimize the surplus of inventory that, of course, produces an origin of food waste. Now we are we are testing different advanced systems based on artificial intelligence, and also we are working with digital twins to support this decision making. And in the improvement of the cold chain, And just to so you can have an idea of the network of logistic platforms we work with. We work with 23 property platforms and 10 third-party platforms, and 13 of them are for fresh and frozen products. So we renovate the facilities and the cold chain to extend the shelf life. I will explain in the next slide some of the actions that we do within the sister project to improve this cold chain. And my colleague Jesus from ITN, I think that will explain later other actions that we are working with in the zero waste project. So if you can go please to the next slide. So in Eroski, we are testing some smart containers that are being developed by our partners in Sister. So these are containers for fresh product, of course, transportation with integrated sensor kits, and they are designed with suitable atmosphere for each type of product. So we have two different smart containers that we are testing in Sisters. The first one is the bulk box, is applicable to bulk food products. In this case, we work with, from producers, from our suppliers to the logistic platform. And another type of container is the store box for pack products. In this case, we will start with the trials with Storebox, in fact, next week, from the logistic platforms to our stores. So as I said, we did some trials with the bulk boxes with peppers, strawberries, and spinaches. And the result showed that they could extend the shelf life of fruit and vegetables, and the estimation of food loss and waste demonstrated some promising results. So hopefully we will also explain in the future good results with the store boxes. If you can go, please, to the next slide. Thank you. Another key initiative of Eroski is the sale of products with commercial deficiency. So just to make you an idea, in Europe, around 30% of all the fruits and vegetables are discarded each year because of the appearance. So in Eroski, we run several campaigns to offer this type of products, ugly products with discounts. The main challenge here, of course, is to raise social awareness about the food waste and about the consumption of this type of product. So that's why we make a lot of campaigns about ugly products through the different channels of Eroski, as for example, our magazine that is called Eroski Consumers. So just to make you an idea of the tons of waste that they are not generated through this initiative, more than 400 tons of ugly fruits and vegetables are sold per year. So if you can go please to the next slide. I wanted to show this initiative. Of course, this cannot be applied by Eroski as a retailer company, but we think it's a very interesting initiative that Sisters is implemented to help small producers to reduce the food waste generated. So Regioneo is an e-commerce solution for fruit and vegetable producers. It supports small producers to develop short distribution chains. So as you know, this alone can reduce the percentage of waste generated along the cold chain. And also they allow the small producers to sell products at risk of being wasted because they are ugly, or the surpluses of the short shelf life. So yes, we think that this initiative that is being carried out within Sisters is very promising for small producers. So we wanted to present it in this webinar. So if you go please to the next slide. So another important action that Eroski actually undertakes is the offer for quick consumption that we name it, is the promotion of fresh products that are approaching to the expiration date. So in this case, as you can see in the label on the right side, this is the actual label we use in Eroski. So we offer discounts for near to expiration date products, and the more products you buy, the higher discount you get. So within a sister project, we are working in the definition of a dynamic labeling to improve the efficiency of the system, so we can quickly respond to the changes in the food shelf life, also considering the inventory. We are in the start phases of this work, but yes, that's what we are developing within Sisters project. And here also you have some numbers. So more than 13,000 tons of products with discount are sold per year with this initiative. So if you can go to the next slide, please. We are recently working with the Too Good To Go app in Eroski. In fact, since 2021, we are currently trying to extend it to all stores. We are working mainly in the creation of new packs with the highest wastage level, such as bakery and pastries, to help us improve this reduction of food waste in the company. So up to now, more than 300,000 packs of products close to the expiration date have been sold through this Too Good To Go app. If you can go please to the next slide. Thank you. So donations, of course, is also one of the principal activities we do in Eroski to reduce this food waste. So we work both with social entities and also donations for animal feed. Eroski provides safe, supportive and free destination for all products that are suitable for human or animal consumption, but they have no commercial destination. For example, if I don't know, if there is some quality issues with the product, but they are still safe for production, but they cannot be sold, so they go for donations. We are trying to maximize the volume of donations by increasing the number of stores, and also to increase the number of agreements with social organizations, and also to increase the collection frequencies. So here again some numbers. More than 3,000 tons of food products are designated for 100 of social entities per year. If you can go please to the next slide. Of course, the management, the circular management of waste is another initiative of Eroski. We can differentiate here two different types of management. The first one are for animal byproducts that are collected for the use as raw material in the manufacture of animal meal, oils, and animal feed. So more than 5,000 tons of organic waste are used for the production of these products per year. And on the second side, all the products that are not donated and those that are not from animal origin are delivered to an authorized waste manager. So depending on the type of waste, the destination will be animal feed, composting, or biogas. So here we have more than 1,500 tons of organic waste for animal feed, composting, or biogas. If you can go please to the next slide. And of course, the awareness raising and education of consumers. So household generates more than half of the total food waste in the EU, 54% in fact. This accounts for 72 kilograms per habitants. The last figures shown by Eurostat. In the Basque Country, where Eroski is located, they also did a similar test, and we have the same figures. So Eroski is actively engaged in training and informing consumers to help them reducing food waste at home. So we work with different campaigns, both in the magazine. We also have a food school, so we do some trainings, both to families, kids, and also to professionals in the education sector. And I also wanted to mention that Sisters is starting working in a QR level to help consumers reduce this generation of food waste. So we are in the first phase of work in the development of the QR. The team involved is actually analyzing in detail which type of information is missing now for the consumers and which might be the most interesting one. And I think that's my last slide. So thank you very much. If you have any question, you can contact me or Ainara Jona, that is the responsible for the innovation team of Eroski. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We will now go on to Rosetta.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to present our new project, Rosetta, which is focused on reducing food waste generated by marketing standards through alternative market access. And today I'll focus mostly on the retail side and how the retail is related to food waste generated by marketing standards. My name is Irini Efthymiadou. I'm representing Q-Plan International, who is the coordinator of the project. And if I can have this next slide. I will give a brief overview of the project, some project insights that we have in relation to marketing standards, challenges in the value chain and in retail in particular, and the role of retail regarding marketing standards and food waste in the value chain, and some good practices that we have identified, and I think almost all of them have already been mentioned in the previous presentation. We are in the beginning, so it started in January this year. So at the moment we only have results based on desk research and some interviews, and I will present the future work that will help us have practical, practice-based results. Can I have the next slide, please? So project overview, next slide, please. So as I said, the project has started in January this year. It lasts 36 months. It's a Horizon Europe project, and Q-Plan International is the coordinator, and involves 17 organizations from 7 countries. As you can see on the map, covering different roles, food value chain actors and practitioners, business innovation and policy advisors, research and educational institutions, and technology providers. Next slide, please. What is the context and rationale behind this project? A substantial amount of food waste that already presented in previous presentations may be due to marketing standards. However, there is limited evidence on how much, why, and how to address it. Current marketing standards are primarily linked to the economic pillar of sustainability to ensure smooth operation of the supply chain. However, the new revision of at least EU marketing standards includes also impacts on social and environmental pillars of sustainability. And we need to know the trade-offs across these 3 pillars of sustainability linked to the objectives of the different marketing standards to allow for more informed decisions to be made regarding the marketing standards and the impact on food waste. And also solutions dealing with foods that do not meet marketing standards can help valorize food that would be otherwise wasted, while also creating value for businesses and society alike. And already in the previous presentation, we saw some of these solutions. Next slide, please. So the aim and objectives of the project is to reduce and prevent food waste by improving market access to foods that do not meet marketing standards but are still safe to eat. So we aim to assess the impact of marketing standards on the generation of food waste along the supply chain of selected commodities, not of all kinds of food, and the reasons for their establishment. Define, deploy, and use case pilots, validate, and openly share via replication guidelines solutions for alternative market access to what we call suboptimal foods, foods that do not meet marketing standards, using the multi-actor approach, and provide relevant recommendations to food businesses, marketing standard owners, policymakers, and regulators. Next slide, please. Now some initial project insights. What do we mean by marketing standards? These are food safety and quality requirements meeting consumer expectations. They can be public or private. The public standards are usually in the form of regulations, either at EU level, national level, or international level, whereas the private marketing standards are usually contractual agreements between the supplier and the company. The public marketing standards are mandatory, and their compliance is enforced through inspections. They aim to protect consumers, promote fair trade, and facilitate international trade in case of international standards. The private marketing standards are voluntary, so not everyone has to follow them. However, if the suppliers want to access certain markets or customers, they have to follow these. They have a substitute role, mainly when the public standards do not cover all requirements of the private sector. They depend on the product, and also public standards depend on the commodity, but when there are differentiations or niche markets, then the private standards have to be more specific. Next slide, please. Now, the thing is that along the value chain, marketing standards affect all stakeholders in the food value chain, and the non-compliance with marketing standards may contribute to food waste throughout the value chain. So at production level, farmers and producers, processing and manufacturing, distributing, retailers, which is quite an important link in the value chain in relation to both marketing standards and food waste, and food service operators, and finally the consumers. So next slide, please. If we focus on the retailers, what are the challenges regarding non-compliance with marketing standards and consumer demands? Non-compliance with marketing standards and consumer demands may contribute to food waste in retail. How? I think some of this already mentioned in a previous presentation. Mainly aesthetic imperfections that do not affect the nutritional quality or safety of the foods. Also packaging defects that do not affect the content. Foods approaching or past their best before dates that remain safe for consumption. And one important one is misleading and confusing labeling, such as sell-by or best-by dates, that can contribute to consumers discarding perfectly edible food because they don't understand what the label means. Next slide, please. Also, what is the role of retail in creating possible food waste along the value chains? The retailers may contribute to food waste in the value chain mainly by imposing stringent marketing standards to their suppliers. Those are the private standards that we mentioned. We found that the private standards are mainly created and imposed by retailers or retailers associations that follow certain that want to follow certain standards. So these are strict criteria for the appearance of produce, such as size, shape, or color uniformity, so aesthetic criteria that have nothing to do with the nutritional or safety of the food. Specific size and weight requirements for certain food commodities, such as fruit and vegetables, meat, etc., and packaging and labeling requirements. What retailers can do is they can collaborate with value chain stakeholders to develop more sustainable practices that minimize food waste throughout the value chain, and also even modify or make the marketing standards more sustainable, not only from economic point of view, but also from environmental and social point of view. Next slide, please. Based on that, we have done some research. There's a lot of practices already implemented by various projects and initiatives, and based on the desk research and literature review, we have found good practices that mitigate the challenge of reducing food waste due to marketing standards. And these are categorized in 3 categories. They are prevention challenges that relate mostly to preventing food waste that will be generated at retail and consumer level. Redistribution practices that can be also implemented in retail, but also in previous stages of the supply chain. And social interventions, again, can be implemented in retail mostly, but also in other value chain, by other value chain actors. So if we would like to group to identify in more general terms these prevention challenges, these have to do already presented in more detail in previous presentation, reduced pricing strategies, visual marketing and display strategies, innovative packaging and labeling strategies, flexible contracts with suppliers when we talk about private marketing standards, and communication and consumer awareness strategies. Regarding distribution is transforming suboptimal produce into new products, direct sales channels from farmers to consumers, such as short supply chains already mentioned, and digital platform for food distribution. So the direct sales can be either physical or through digital platforms, and the digital platforms can facilitate a lot this. And the social interventions, food redistribution to charitable organizations, as already examples shown before, social supermarkets addressing food waste and poverty, and an important initiative that addresses the challenge of costs of implementing these good practices, because this has some cost for those implementing it. Tax reductions for businesses that donate food. So this is how we have identified the challenges. And now, next slide, please. We have some future work to do based on this already initial insights. First, we have to assess the marketing standards of 4 food commodities. This already is in progress. So we focus our project in 4 food commodities only: fruit and vegetables, cereals, dairy, and meat. Estimate food waste related to marketing standards along the value chain. Pilot test and validate alternative marketing models of suboptimal foods in 5 use cases around Europe. So out of this list I showed you, we'll select and implement at pilot scale solutions, alternative marketing models in 5 use cases around Europe. And while doing that, we'll assess trade-offs between food waste reduction and marketing standards requirements. And then after testing and validating the actual implementation of these solutions, provide recommendations to policymakers, regulators, and marketing standard owners, how they can replicate these solutions or adapt their policies. Next slide, please. We also have some supporting actions, just very briefly, mainly for facilitating dissemination, communication, and exploitation and knowledge exchange. We base our approach on local multi-actor innovation platforms, so local representatives of the value chain at local level, that they are involved in all stages of the project, in particular the pilot implementations. We have a community of practice at EU level where we exchange knowledge and experience. We focus a lot on synergies with other projects and initiatives, such as with sisters and other projects, and because of that, we also participate in this webinar. We also have a digital toolkit for co-creation and knowledge exchange, and we are developing it, and the usual digital communication activities and learning and other dissemination events. Can I have a next slide, please? So here are all the partners of Rosetta, and next slide. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I don't know if we're answering questions now or later, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
We have a dedicated Q&A section at the end, but if anyone has to leave before then, of course, you can ask questions now. Anyone online? If you have any, just feel free to unmute yourselves and you can speak. All right, if not, then I will pass things over to Breadcrumb, who joined us here today. So thank you so much.
Because I'm not in the meeting, people can hear me.
Oh yes, we have the mic connected there and 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. And first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. So we are here as a ILVO representative. So ILVO is a coordinator for a Breadcrumb project, and we are also sisters project of Rosetta. So we are actually tackling similar issues. So we are actually tackling the food marketing standards and their impact on the food waste. Next one, please. So here I will just really briefly introduce the Breadcrumb project, our goals and objectives, and we, as one of our partners, we have MC Sonaia. It's the biggest retailer in Portugal, and there they started with our platform in order to fight the food waste that I will present to you. Thank you. Next slide. So Breadcrumb at a glance. So we started together with Rosetta. So we started in January, and this year the project has taken 3 years. We and next slide, please, maybe about the partners. So we are 21 partners from 7 different countries. So our partners, they are the academic partners, also the partners from research and innovation institutes, and we have also partners that they are the actors in the food supply chain. Next slide. So the main goal of our project aims to analyze food marketing standards and their impact on the food waste and propose the interventions that balance food waste reduction with other standard objectives. So the goal is to have the food chain actors and the business to create the business potential around the suboptimal foods. Next slide, please. So we have the 5 main objectives. So we want to establish a comprehensive understanding of the EU food marketing standards. We want to develop an empirical evidence base for food waste generation in connection to the food marketing standards as well. Then to understand and model the mechanism of the food waste generation and trades-off. to enhance market access and business potential for optimal food, and of course to effectively manage and upscaling of the project. How we're gonna do it? Similar to Rosetta project, we want to identify private and public food marketing standards. Also understand how they are interplay and how they are. What is the interaction between them, and then also creation of the food waste. Reduce to food waste by improving market access to the suboptimal food. Help the businesses in creating value from the suboptimal food. We are also focusing on the 5 food commodities by having 16 case studies that we are spread all over the EU country. And we want to provide solutions to prevent and reduce food waste related to marketing standards and prevent food waste by rebalancing food marketing. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned before, so in our case study, in our project, we have 16 case studies that we are covering 5 commodities: fruits and vegetables, eggs, cereals, fish, and meat. Our partner from Portugal and Sonaya, it's contributing to our fruits and vegetables case study. So now I will share their insights related to the litter. So MC Sonaya committed to the fighting the food waste.
Pues no lo sé. Te llamo antes por eso, pero digo, no sé si es que no estaba o te ha sido con la bici o algo.
Okay.
Yes, MC Sonaya is the biggest retailer in Portugal. They are part of the Sonaya group, and as you see on the map, they are really present all of the Portugal, continental Portugal, and they're also on the Azores and Madeira, also present there. So they are the largest retail in Portugal and the key player in the distribution and grocery of the food. In the distribution sector of the food, they are also working and as they have the different type of stores. They have the hypermarkets, supermarkets, convenience stores. They are also active in distribution and food service. They are known from their innovation and innovative and sustainable approach for approach, and they are active in initiatives aiming at reduction the food waste. That now I will elaborate a bit more about it. Next slide. So as also Irina previously mentioned in the presentation, so they are focusing on prevention, reduction, and redistribution. In this part of my presentation, I will talk about the prevention, what is happening. So next slide, please. Sonaya uses the advanced data models to predict the demand and manage stock levels more efficiently. So I think it's also really important to say that also each country has a bit different culture and things. So our colleague from Sonaya said that, for example, in Portugal, people, they're going at the evening to the shop and they're still expecting that their bread or the goods there available. But I think in the Belgium, when we go to the shop, we know if we are going a bit later, we are gonna have lack of certain commodities. So that's why they said that they're using these data models to be able to predict the demands and still satisfy the client, but also try to reduce the food waste. They also implemented an analytical model to fight food waste with with kind of smart discounts. So the discount rate for the product then nearing the expiring date, they are also calculated and taking into consideration the sale history in the shop and to just the best place the discount that can be the most appealing for the clients, and in that way also a bit pushing the selling of the products that they are close to expiring date. Next slide, please. They also have initiative called Continent Producers Club. So it's a platform that engages the producer with industry in retail. So it's also kind of a matchmaking platform, because if they know they work a lot with the producers and they know that with the one produces it's oversupply, for example, for the apples, then they are looking in the network, the producer or the industry that can make something, the new product out of it, and on that way they can a bit more also implementing this matchmaking and looking for the solution of the product that normally would be wasted or sold on the much lower prices. So it's also initiative to support national producers, and then they are taking in the price the authenticity of the Portuguese product. So this is something, the initiative that they came up with to tackle the food waste in their among their supply chain. Next slide, please. Then about the reduction, so they are also committed to reduction. They're coming up with the multiple initiatives to this. Next slide, please. So one of the ways that they are trying to reduce the food waste is the donation. So they regularly donated surplus food and non-food items to locally selected social welfare institutions and animal welfare associations. In 2022, it was more than 30 million euro in surplus donated to charities. And then the social solidarity institution supported by the MC Sunai is more than 1,000. And then 27 million euro in food donations. That was. And next slide, please. They're also active in the application Too Good To Go, so they are available in this application, and then the surplus that is available in a store, it appears in the application and can be that way sold. So they are looking for new channels to selling it. Next slide, please. They also came with this zero waste range products. So you see also this product that they are the initiatives that they are related to this zero waste range. They have this smiley face with the mission continent. So this is actually the boxes. So with the fruits and the vegetables that they are with the small imperfections, or also in this box they are landing the fruits and vegetables at the end of the day that they are not sold. So actually then they are offered to the clients with the on reduced price. Next slide, please. Here is another product that they're available in this range, but here it's like they are already pre-packed, and they also get the label like zero waste range. So then customers already know that that can be products that they are or bigger, smaller, or with the imperfections. Apparently there is a product that is from the walnuts that they are normally, there is quite often you have the smaller parts, and then they are just collecting and putting in the bags, and also try to sell it, because they said that the client, they find it really a good product to use in a kind of yogurt or during the breakfast, because otherwise they have to cut the whole nut. So this is also, they said that it's really popular, and definitely it's selling good. And then they are also mentioning that on their product, on this range of the product, they're mentioning that they are like products that would be wasted. So this is also giving another message for the clients. Next slide, please. What they also did, they also started to accepting a bit smaller size fruits, especially apples and pears, which previously were rejected on the and not entering the shop. But they found it that quite often parents who are looking for the fruits for the children, they are preferring to buying smaller fruits because the regular apples sometimes they are too big or so they're on that way they are also using the fruits and vegetables that they are not on the grading that normally it would be accepted, but they are looking for alternative ways to marketing and sell it and find the niche for the consumers. Okay, next slide, please. And single bananas. So apparently loose banana is one of the items with the highest percentage of the waste in the shop. We heard as well in Belgium that was also the thing in Colorado that just people, they do want to buy single bananas. So they always look for a banana that they are together. So here to fight this, because they saw that it's a big problem. So they start to creating the common space for this singles banana. So they are providing the one box and they just putting all of the singles banana together and then they are just bringing this message like I'm single, please take me home. And then apparently this just this simple move reduced the waste of banana roughly 20%. Next slide, please. And this is also what it was also mentioned before, this labeling. So they are using the pink labels. And it's so they are the products on the with the reduction price. So then actually they are more visible by using this pink color, and it's too, as you see, yes, it's almost about to expire. It was actually a colleague from MC took the picture and the shop, so they are real pictures from their shop, and I said that also their model for the pricing is also applied here. And next slide, please. This here I'm gonna present some examples of the reuse, how they are reusing the surplus. Next slide, please. So they are using like the surplus that it's in a shop or also available by the producers that they are working with to create the new products. Like for example, here before I mentioned about the apples. So they found, for example, one example is that they found the company that was producing the vinegar from it. So from the apples, and then we also have the here we can see the jams that they are produced, and then they are sold under the brand of the continent. So, and here on this product, on the jams, it's also mentioned that they are made from the surplus that was available. So, and also the way, one of the way to use the fruits and vegetables that they are not sold or they are not perfect, it's they have the machines for orange and pomegranate juices. So I think it's also depending on the country, because I guess in some of the countries it's more popular to drink juices like this and other a bit less, but it's also the solution to actually to reuse the fruits and vegetables, fruits that they are already in the shop, and otherwise they would be wasted. And then next slide, please. Yeah, so thank you for listening, and here anyone has any questions, so we are available. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. If we have any questions, we can ask now. We're doing well for time, so we can definitely do questions.
Yes, thanks for the nice presentation. I was wondering if you could expand a little bit more on the objective number 2 and objective number 3 of the projects. So to develop an empirical evidence base for food waste generation and to understand and model the mechanism of food waste generation and trade-offs, which I found very interesting, but
Yes.
I found it very, very complex as well.
Yeah, it is very complex, and we have our partners from University from Bologna, Libo, and that they are busy with the modeling. So right now in our project, we are on the phase of collecting the data about the food waste, and with the focus on the food marketing standards. However, I have to say that it's a big challenge, and I think everyone hopes for a bit better results. But we are definitely seeing the I don't know if it's lack of willingness or a bit still the companies or the organizations, they are quite scared of sharing this data. So I believe that our colleagues from who are going to work on modeling going to have a big challenge, because we try to we go to the list of the data that they would like to have it, but it's not easy to, even though that sometimes some of the part of the interviewed, is just to say we have data, but in the end you're not getting it. In this in the modeling, they're gonna use MOA. Also gonna implement this motivation, opportunity, and ability framework that is gonna be, and then we have also partners from CREDA. From Spain, that they're gonna also be more focused on economic sides.
Okay. But it's focused maybe on the retailer practices, or no?
We go through the whole
Supply chain.
Yes, so we have we have also we also have like 16 case studies that they are covering different commodities. So we are also. Yeah, that can be as well. Yeah, it's okay, it's fine. So, so this fruits and vegetables, eggs, cereals, fish, and meat. So we try to collect. We are now, as I said, like now ending the step of the data collection. So the idea is that all of the partners, they are also we did the product mapping. So everyone is that clearly specifying which product they're gonna collect. Or which type of fruit, vegetable, or kind of meat or fish of cereal, or the product made from cereal, or the eggs. And now we are trying to. So we want to have the overview throughout the whole supply chain, because. But as I said, we already noticed, that it's each commodity and also each supply chain step it's really specific. It's really difficult to apply one thing to all of it, because all of them, they have their own challenges, own perspective, or and needs as well. So and then another question also was about the.
Yes, we have a question online from Sana and Irene. I'll ask Sana's first in the chat. It says, I get that products like food are depriced to be sold if closer to the expiration date, but can fruit not be sold to shoppers in tins or even given as donation to the poor?
Normally it's happening. As I know, we had the talk with the big with retailer from Belgium, with the Colorant, and they said that it's also depending. They said that, for example, in some of the cities, the groups that they are helping the people in need, they are really well organized. They are coming each day collecting, and of course for them it's the shops, they are into donation. But I think it's also like from the other project, we also know from the Zero project, because I'm also working in Zero project. And one of our partners is a food banks from Belgium. And just sometimes the problem is that the distribution, because food banks mainly working with the volunteers. they also not, it's also not like always the same amount of the volunteers is available. Sometimes also transportation, there's a causing some of the issues, and also if there is bigger part, like amount of the fruits. I know from the, for example, from auction, sometimes the issue is the way they are packed, because they're getting in a big crates, like the paloxes, that they can be really till 300 kilo or something, and then it's difficult for them to redistribute it. And so I think still retail is gonna be business, gonna try to make the business, but if it's not available that way, that still, and I think it's also good, I think to make this switch for consumers, that they can, because sometimes they're thinking, oh, why it's all cheaper? Like, yeah, that most of the consumers, they want it cheaper, but then if it's something cheaper, then it's the question, why is it cheaper? Like, so I think it's also with the food waste, and it's also big role as the how the actually consumers be making the decisions. So this is also thing that it's, I think in general, food waste is such a complex topic that it has to be tackled from few angles. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have one last question online from Irini. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, it's not really a question. I just want to make a comment, because we face we work in a very similar way with Breadcrumb, as we are really sister projects from the same call. A comment about the previous question, that if I understood correctly, how we approach the estimation of food waste because of marketing standards along the food value chain, and the trade-offs between marketing standards and food waste. So I just want to say that from the Rosetta approach, we are also still in the beginning of doing this, but we have a certain ways we approach it. So we use the multi-actor approach. So in each of the use cases that we are going to study, we are actually we have already identified specific representatives, actors in the food value chain for the specific food commodities that we are going to study. So we cannot study everything. So we study the specific commodities. We studied in 5 countries, and in each country they select mainly one commodity. In some cases 2, and we have already identified and established understanding between actors in the food value chain that are going to be involved in all the stages. So at this stage we had some interviews from them. So at least for the food waste, they don't have numbers, because a lot of the time they don't measure it for the specific commodity and so on, but they have an estimation. So they're not reluctant to give us an estimation, at least at this first level, because they are anyway, all the data will be anonymously presented, so they are not going to be identified. And then the idea is that we do a little bit more further questions and analysis at one of our partners, TGASC from Ireland. They are doing that, a framework of food waste estimation along the food value chain, which is going to be tested at pilot scale. So we are going to actually provide guidelines how they are going to measure this and give specific, so like an experiment, and see what happens in the end. The same with trade-offs. We have now again our partner TGASC are developing a framework on how to estimate again trade-offs, a little bit more qualitative. So if we are going to apply a solution, will that improve food waste, but will also have other impacts, negative impacts like cost, and what is the balance between them. So based on that, we will also decide which solution is best, more viable. I don't know. This again is theoretical because we haven't implemented yet, but this is how we are going to approach it. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. So you mentioned that you're gonna develop new frameworks for measuring food loss and waste and trade-offs, or you're gonna use one of the many that have been already developed in the food loss and
We are
waste
going
literature?
to, yeah, we are going to take into account, but adapt it to our needs. So
Okay.
It
Okay, thank
will
you.
be like taking into account those and adapting them, and all the methodologies are going to be openly accessible, published, and the results as well, the cumulative results. And again, I said without mentioning names of people or companies.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I can also add, like right now we are on the end of the writing one of the deliverable that is estimates of the food waste related to food marketing standards from the EU country. And actually we encountered some difficulties with also we have partners that they are European associations and they don't have this data. And they are saying we don't have, and that is also quite difficult. They also mentioned that quite difficult is to encourage their members to give this data, to share it. So that's what, yeah, that is one of the, I think, a big challenge. That and as it was mentioned, some of the respondents, they are really not busy. I think it's not their core yet. I hope yet to really know how much they are and food waste, and especially to related to the food marketing standards. That's also, and EU level, it's also difficult because each country has their own way of operating. So we also, as we know, in Belgium, we are really good structure with the auctions that they are taking quite a load from producers, also accepting second-class products. And as we know, it's also maybe something that it's really close collaboration between auctions and retails in Belgium. And because they know that one of the problem is oversupplying, so they have really good contact with her and they try to discuss it, and for example already give some arrangement with the farmers and saying, okay, maybe this year you can produce less this and focus on this because we have more on the we have clients that you could have it. So I think it's also one of the way, but we know that Belgium is quite exceptional on the on this having like so well operating this auction. So I think it's also this that the other countries gonna have different insights and different data. But as we also like first, it's just via the interviews, surveys, and what I said, we also maybe encountered really difficult period because it was summer period that. It's also quite difficult because for a lot of people on holidays, it's also harvesting season. So some of the producers, they have priorities. So it's also, I think, definitely one of the challenge of to collecting this data and estimate.
Yeah, and something you mentioned that's very curious, the business, they do have access to this data because they do collect, but they are not really willing to share. We have the same with Eroski, they circulate a survey on practices, and we had a part about quantifying food loss and waste. That's no answer almost on that part.
Yes, we sometimes that they have all data, but if we are really asking for it, they say we just released the report, but it's actually really public.
Yeah,
really general report. It's difficult to
get the number out of it.
Yes, but I think it's also we all aware that it's kind of business, and then also but it's anonymized. Anyhow, they know that it's anonymized, and it's not gonna be put it on because I think sometimes it can be data can say a lot. So even data related to the food waste can give a lot of insights for competition. So I think that's why it's a bit of hesitance from the side of but. I think this is something that it should be tackled because without the data, we cannot really provide the right solutions, because if we're gonna really only based on really rough estimates, what can be different also for each country and things. So I think it's still still a lot of challenges, but I guess it makes it the work exciting. So.
Sorry, I do have a very fast question. You showed the example of the banana, the single banana. Okay, so we have a reduction at the retail level.
Yeah.
But of course, if you sell the single banana to a consumer, the shelf life is drastically reduced. Do we have data as well, the food loss and waste at home? No, okay, because that's I am afraid that with that strategy, you just move the food loss and waste not from the retailer.
Yeah, actually, it was my thing from also for Eroski, because they said like you buy more, you get higher discount, but we know how people working. So I said, okay, so I buy 4, then I get more, but then at home, are you gonna use it or not? Yeah, just that's all of the that's a tricky part.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, we have one final comment online from Sana again. Just to be clear, we have been cutting into the Q&A session at the end, so it's fine if we do Q&As spurts, perfectly okay. So we'll do one last question here. She says, I'll start with this one. Sana online says, yes, I found that consumers are initially willing to buy items priced lower, but as soon as the price increases, fewer people are willing to purchase them. For example, if apples are priced at $2 for 3 apples, and then the price increases to $3 for 3 apples, consumers are more likely to buy the apples at a lower price, provided they can use the product within the next 2 days if the price is reasonable. But this varies case by case, like bananas might be preferred when fully ripe unless they can be bought to make something like milkshakes. So many factors influence why one consumer buys reduced price food and another doesn't. So the question is, if people are more aware of sustainability, would they be more willing to buy products at reduced prices first?
I think yes, and it was also coming on the other project related to the food waste. I think really now important thing it would be the awareness of the consumer, but I think it should start really in a young age, also for the children. So because now it's like, as we said, you go to the shop and you can have whatever you want. Also out of the season, just now it's like, seasonality is disappearing and things. So I think awareness of it, even like choosing the products from your local, like if you go and you can choose apples from Belgium or from Chile, that you first even to go for this choice from Belgium. I think still it's a big group of the consumers that they are not aware of that. But of course, there's also, I guess, in countries that they are less economical thing, that people have the other worries, but on the other hand, they make sure to not to waste food. I think so. And in the richer countries, they have the different kind of worries in their head, but then they're also the lifestyle maybe is a bit different, a bit faster. Everyone wants everything convenient and things. So, but I think awareness, it's where we should definitely start, because as we see also consumers, they are dictating how it's how the business operating. So if people suddenly say, okay, for me it doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller apple, and retailers see that they can have it solved, then I think it also would adjust a bit of way of working. But
okay, and you had a question.
Yeah, that's a silly thing. You said that you sell in the supermarket jam and vinegar made from surplus, but you have those produce with the normal produce.
Yeah. With
a different price, or
they are a bit they are like, because of the label, like the supermarket label. So this label. No, it's just for Yes. Here, so here is the continent. So like this is the brand of the. It's not a brand, or it's not like more. This is from the shop. So they are. Mostly they are a bit cheaper, but
these are cheaper than the normal produce, or
It depends what you think, like, because I don't know, like in Belgium, we also have, like, you have the leather, and then you have the leather that they have the product with the lion. What it means that it's produced by the leather, or like Carrefour brands, you know? You have some A brands, and then you have also brands that they are typical from the.
But when I go to
Yeah.
supermarket, I can choose, okay,
Yeah.
I want the normal jam and the jam made from surplus.
It's mention of on the labels, yeah, that it's made from the surplus. So I think it's also a bit targeting these more aware consumers that they are going and they want. But we heard also that sometimes in some of the countries, this putting this message that there is from surplus or waste, it's not scoring.
I've never seen that before.
No? Yeah, because I know that some of the companies also try to put it this message, like you were saying, that was from, but the consumers, they had, oh, it's from something that would be wasted, and that's why it's.
No, but I think in Spain, all the jam is made from surplus.
Yeah. So yeah, from the.
Yeah, always is cheaper. In
Yes.
Spain, I don't know.
Yes, but I think they also like putting this that normally that would be wasted in the shop. So then, because retailers, they are, I don't think that they're going back to producer, like, because producers to make a jam, they go to the farmers that have, for example, second class products, right? And then, as I know, it's only 10% of the premium price. But it's used from it's made from the fruits and fruits that they are in the shop. So, because I think it's quite often that the shops just moving after.
Thank you everyone for your questions. We're going to need to move on to the next presentation as we've been waiting so patiently. Thank you so much. He'll be joining us online. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. Is it possible that I share my own presentation? Do you have any problem with that? Because I did some. Yeah, thank you.
I will show it for us here.
Okay, you should see it, I guess. Can you see it?
I'm preparing it for us.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you for inviting me. And hello, everybody, as well. Well, I'm going to give a presentation called Smart Labels as a solutions to fight the food loss waste at retail level. This is some of the technical developments that have been carried out in Zero project. The presentation is going to be divided into 4 different sections: project introduction, then the development of the tray, also development of the sensors, and then some of the conclusions related to these developments. The project introduction, probably, well, you already know it, is an innovation action. We are started in January 2022 and is meant to be finished at the end of December 2025. We are 46 partners from 17 European countries, so it's a very large project with a lot of activities as well going on. And also, well, the main goal of the Zero directly is to address the challenge of the food loss and waste by implementing innovative solutions, real-life conditions, able to reduce the food loss and waste at all the stages from the post-harvest to consumption as well. This includes as well all the retailers. And in order to do this and to tackle the food loss and waste, different activities, 6 different type of concepts or activities are carried out in the project. So we have analysis, for example, of the data space and intelligence services. We are also working with economic modeling of the food loss waste. Also policy recommendations, engaging with European and national and other initiatives and other projects as well, like, for example, Sisters, support commercial and advance of project innovations, and also we are doing as well different, in this case, 9 systemic innovations demonstrators in order to reduce the food loss and waste. So the partners of the project are here stated, so you probably can feel yourself identified with these logos, because many of the partners are, well, have been shown here along the the presentations and the countries stated here in this map. As I said before, this is a very technical presentation, and also I said that there are like 9 systemic innovation living labs, and this is just a summary of all of them. So we have, for example, one living lab dealing with farm to fork food loss weight monitoring and assessment. We have another one which is related to the innovative sustainable animal packaging for fresh fruit product. This is something that we're gonna see in a minute. We have as well wasteless greenhouse solutions for pre-harvesting level, mobile food valorizations as a service, or ugly food identifications and valorizations, for example, food waste reductions through advanced data-driven production processes, food waste reduction as well through efficient food bank networks, retail food waste valorizations through algae production for high-value applications, or also as well fork to farm to fork again, informing consumers to make better choices through the reverse and forward from fork to farm and farm to fork services. So as I said, we're going to be dealing with this number 2, systemic innovations. And here there is like a little video presentation. Not sure if you can listen the sound, just let me know.
Oh no, we don't hear the sound.
Okay. I think it's because the way I'm sharing the presentation, but there is not any talking behind, it's just the reading, so.
Too small. Small.
Okay. So if we go through all these different elements that we've been seeing in the video, so there is one which is the tray development. This is a very key as well to extend the shelf life and reduce the food loss and waste of the product packed inside. In this case, it's been developed just for salmon. In order to develop this tray, there are like 3 different actions. In the very beginning, we have tray designing as well, just to avoid as well these absorbing pads that normally all these trays they have, just to catch the exudates from the first fish or meat in this case, for example. And then we are doing a new designing in which the exudates are going retained into the bottom of the tray, and they are not gonna be in contact with the fresh product. In this case, it's gonna be the salmon. This is very important because if we can separate the exudates from the fresh food, we can extend as well the shelf life of the food. Also, in order to extend the shelf life, we need to increase the barrier properties of this packaging. So we are working as well with compostable and biodegradable materials, so the packaging is going to be very sustainable. It's going to be compostable. but the packaging material by itself is very thick. But what happened to the lid that is on top? The lid normally is very thin, is very flexible, and then the barrier properties of the lid is very poor. So we need to increase as well the barrier properties of the lid film that covers and seals the packaging from the top, and also the whole system, the tray, and also the lid has to be compostable. It's going to be more sustainable packaging, and it will be as well biodegradable. In order to improve the barrier properties of the lid film, this is the key parameter for the whole packaging, because the thickness of the tray by itself is very thick, but the lid film, as I said before, is very thin. So we need to increase the barrier properties of this lid film, and it's going to be done by a coating that's going to be applied on top. As I said, this is a very technical presentation, and we have here some methodologies of how we increased the barrier properties of this lid film. We actually work with base polymer, which we additivated with different additives, and also we add as well some other materials in order to improve the conditions of these the final solutions, because it has to be taken into account as well the methodology in which this coating is going to be applied. In this case, going to be applied by a flexography method, or also by a gravure printing method as well. So we need some very specific viscosities. In this case, we need viscosities in the range of the 20 seconds measured in the cup 4, number 4. Also, the particle size of all the solution has to be comprised within a range of minimum and maximum, and also we have to deal with this in order to have a suitable coating that could increase the barrier properties of the lid film. So after this, when we did this series of different solutions, we tried them on different lid films. We have a lid film especially designed for this project by Novamont as a partner, and also has two different categories at the end. So we have one lid film with a barrier properties of 500, 600 measured in OTR, and also another lid film they had the units of 844. So what is saying here that the higher the OTR is the most poor barrier properties are getting. So we really need to reduce these values to the minimum as possible. So with all these coatings that we've been doing developing, we can see that how we can go from 500, 600 for one of the references that we obtained to the range of 5 or 6 units. So this is a very huge improve of the barrier properties of these references, but also for the other one, we went from 844 to the values of more or less 2 units of the OTR. So this is also very impressive, no? How we move from something which is with nothing, with no barrier properties, to something which is high barrier properties to keep the salmon. And also, when we are dealing with this, we have to take into account as well all the commercial conditions for the coating. So as this information was provided as well by the partner Eroski. In this case, all these references they were tried and evaluated by Eroski, and then they checked the transparency. They said their opinion: this we like this, we don't like that. This is comparable to the one that we are using already in our current products. This is not comparable. So all the materials plus also the coatings, they've been as well tested in, for example, in the LAB coordinates of colors as well, measuring as well the delta E, the opacity, and the gloss, and comparing this to the references as well. So we can see how all these coatings, for example, they don't change that much the tonality, the different color that the initial lid film should have as well in order to have a very good appearance for the consumer. So we have a reference with some values, for example, as higher the L it is, the most transparent, or the colorless it is the most white color for the lid film. And then we can measure the differences of colors with the delta E. In this case, you can see that most of the values are below 2 units. it is said that delta E equal to 2 or smaller than 2 is actually the same color. So if we have something which is, for example, 1.20, as I can see here, and it's impossible the human eye can differentiate the two different colors. So we actually, most of the coatings are in the range of 2. So we are as well with no main variations of the initial aesthetics of the lid film. We've been also evaluating the opacity and also the gloss obtained after doing the coating on top of the lid film. If we go to the sensor development, the sensor has two different sections actually. It has one of the development for the intelligent label, which is a label that changes the color and the consumer can identify the color and then do the reading. And also we have an app, mobile application that I can read the color and it can provide some information to the consumer. So how does it work? How do we develop this colorimetric sensors? So actually, in order to do one label that can be applied to a packaging and it can change the color, firstly we need to identify the degradation metabolites from the fresh salmon in this case. If it was, for example, one steak of beef, it has to be as well related to the beef. But we need to read and we need to get all the information of what happens in the atmosphere of this packaging when the salmon is getting aged. It's been releasing some metabolites. It could be as well based on amines, or it could be sulfur based. All these compounds that is being releasing into the packaging, we have to read them and also identify them. And then we have to find some chemistry for these metabolites, the chemistry that we want to make it to react, and then for some reasons this chemistry has to change as color as well. So we have to study then the chemistry for this atmosphere, the chemistry that we want to do within the label, and also once we have the chemistry identified, we have to formulate the ink. And then later, when we have the ink formulated, we have to do some trials with the fresh product and then doing some calibrations in order to adjust the selectivity. We are evaluating this amine and not this other one, for example, or this amine but not a sulfur-based material, for example, and then later as well the sensitivity. So we want to have the color when, for example, the salmon is stored in this packaging for 1 week or 2 weeks, for example. We have to evaluate that according to as well to the microbiology. So you have here some pictures showing the development of the ink. And then once we had the ink developed as well, we were doing like some in vitro trials as well, doing in a lab scale as well some changes of how this ink, one is being printed, how it changes the color when it is exposed to different metabolites. So this is metabolites that come from the salmon, for example, trimethylamine, triethylamine, dibuthylamine, dimethylamine, and ammonia, and all of them are reacting in a different way to this ink. Some of them, they go from a colorless, initially it's the colorless printing. So if you print it into a substrate, so the substrate, it is white actually. And then after it's been exposed to these metabolites, the white substrate or the white label changes to a yellow when it's exposed to trimethylamine. When it's exposed to ethylamine, so goes from white colorless to something which is more green, or to something which is more blue. So we have here the example, for example, of the ammonia that goes from white, a white label, to something which is more blue. And depending on the exposition time, the shade of the blue also changes. You can see which is more deep or more type of purple, more type of green. And then once we had the label, we did as well some trials with the fresh salmon. We did the salmons, we did some trials, and then we exposed them to the aging. And then you can see here how maybe in this picture in the right, how the color changes from something which was colorless to something which is brownish. And why it is brown? Because we have different metabolites there in the salmon. Now all of them reacts to the ink that we printed at different degrees, and then the mixture of colors, a little bit of blue, a little bit of greenish and yellow, at the end it makes a different color, which is in this case is the brown. And then as long as you leave it in the for example, outside the fridge, or as long as you leave it in the fridge, out of date, for example, the color gets darker. So then afterwards, you have to calibrate the intensity of the color to the microbiology status of the salmon. And this is something that we are trying right now in the lab here in Italy. And then also, once we have the label developed and then the label is showing a color, this color can be read by the consumer as well. There is later, for example, underneath of the label, there can be a scale saying from white to black, for example, and then different shades in the middle showing different intensities and if the product is safe to be eaten or maybe it's not safe anymore. But beyond that as well, in order to avoid human interpretations, we are developing as well a mobile applications. Within mobile applications, we can read the label shown by the packaging. You have here, for example, in the picture of the on the left, the different intensities of the shade. And then it can tell you afterwards, for example, how suitable is this salmon to be eaten, how many remaining days are left in order for this salmon to be eaten. So we can reduce as well the food waste. Also, it can be integrated as well, not only for the consumer state, but also as well for the retailer state as well. For example, this label can be integrated as well, and it can read the whole label of the packaging. So we can have, besides the status of the salmon for being eaten in a safe way, we can have as well an overall information, like for example, when was the salmon produced, when was the salmon packaged, in which atmosphere it was packaged, in which country, how many miles have been traveling from one side to the other. Is something happening? This label, for example, is showing like this product is not able to be eaten right now because it's not safe. So maybe we can track the conditions and identify why the salmon is not safe to be eaten, because we can have all this information maybe by reading a QR label as well into one single mobile applications, and this is for a retail level management of stocks. Then later they can, for example, if they identify that this stock of salmon is close to the expiring date, they can put into the shelves, reducing the prices in order to sell it at cheaper price and then avoid the food loss. And then as a conclusion, I'd say that Zero Trace gathers together different technologies. As you can see, we are working with the design in the materials, the lead film, and the sensors and the mobile applications. The try designing is being implemented as well in order to separate the first product exudates in order to preserve the product and extend the shelf lives. Also, we are developing coatings in order to increase the barrier properties and extend the shelf life as well of the salmon in this case. As well, the freshness indicator has been developed to alert the consumer or the retailer about the product suitability, so they can take as well decisions in order to avoid the waste of the product. And also the mobile applications being implemented as well to gather all this information together, so then the retailer can manage the stock more accurately as well. So this is the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Are there any questions online or in person? Yes, we have one online from Eleni.
Yes, thank you very much for this presentation. Based on what we have found already, also from Rosetta interviews, is that the consumers are very confused with the dates, and because they really don't know what the dates mean in terms of safely consuming the food. I think a technological solution that proves how many in reality, because I think all these dates, especially the best before, are just added there arbitrarily. And if there is a way to prove on the shelf how and consumers trust this method, then they will be reduced food waste also when after they buy the packaged food, as long as they store it as it should be, or even before when it's on the shelf, also for the retailers. So I think it's very good, the idea, if something can be developed like this. My question is, at what stage is it developed in terms of actually implementing it? And the main question is, what would be the cost of actually not retailers, producers, or whoever is doing the packaging, is the cost for them to do that, and how this cost will affect the cost of the final product. So if at the end, what will be the trade-off between having a fully safe information that really makes the consumer know how safe it is, and the price they have to pay for it. I don't know if you thought about it, or if you, and when will be really the right time when this price will be really not affecting too much the cost of the final product.
Yes. Well, firstly, I would like to point out as well your first impressions. Yeah, this is a solutions like very interesting, the intelligent label, because as you said, the expiring date and the best before is confusing, but also it's based on mere statistics. I mean, they know that if they store, like they pack a bit of a stack of beef, is gonna stay in the fridge in perfect conditions for 2 weeks. But what happened, for example, if the consumer forgot to put it the first night or the second night or for different days into the fridge, and it's been stored on the shelf of the kitchen, for example. So this label can give an alert as well to the consumer, saying, no, this is not able to be eaten. Or sometimes, for example, you can have a product being stored properly, but then you read the label and then it says, oh, this product is already expired. But then probably no. Maybe sometimes could be this product could be still being able to be eaten because it's not bad enough. And then this label as well also shows to the consumer that this product, even if it's beyond the expiring date, you can still use it and it's still being safe. Obviously, right now there is no way that you can avoid to put in the label for expiring date or best before. This is mandatory, so you have to put it there. So this is a complementary solution, but it can help as well to reduce the food waste, because also as well, also for safety, you can buy a product and you can put it in your shopping bag, and then you don't realize, but then you can, without realizing, you can do a scratch of the packaging, and then the atmosphere of this packaging gets contaminated by the outside atmosphere. So then maybe this product is not safe to be eaten after 4 days, and then this label could give you as well an indication for that as well. And then related to the cost of the product, yeah, in this type of the packaging, the limit for how much you can increase is very little. We are we also know that this is gonna be a drawback or a difficulty in order to implement this for the real consumer. But still, there are some solutions in order to reduce the product. For example, when we use the printing, has to be printing technology has to be applied into printing systems that you can be produce labels in a mass productions, labels in a compatible, for example, in a roll-to-roll process, in which afterwards you can produce 200 meters, for example, in 10 minutes or even less than that. So then we could reduce the prices, but also more related to the retail level, more than consumer, this label, it could be put it into, not for the one single packaging, but it could be applied to one whole set of multiple packagings as well. So in a way that, for example, the retailer, when they read the status of one of the label, they can understand more or less how the I don't know, maybe the 200 units of the packaging are behaving, just having like 1 or 2 different examples as a statistical. So this is another method of reducing the prices in order to implement this. So perhaps the solution is not implementing this for the single consumer, but yes, to the retailer level.
We also have a few questions online. We'll get started first from anyone. The smart label technology is really fascinating. How applicable is it to meats outside of fish? Is this an aspect of research currently ongoing? Has there been correlation between smart label usage to consumption of meats or meats that are more commonly wasted?
Right now we are, I don't know if I'm not sure if I understood correctly the question, because I think yours seems to be a bit far from the speaker. But we are currently developing this technology. We also here in Tenu have another solution which is already developed for fresh chicken, and it's already developed. So we are in this stage. We have one solution already for chicken, and we are within Zero developing this smart packaging with a smart label as well. So we are in the stage of doing the final trials in order to accurate the sensitivity and the selectivity of the sensor according to the microbiology. I don't know if the question was that, because I didn't hear properly.
I'm sure they'll let us know if it wasn't. Thank you. I'll move on to the next one. I'll speak up for you as well, so it's clearer. That was a very interesting presentation. I was wondering what chemicals were used in the trays that have been identified as helpful, and what are the protocols when it comes to health? Is it only short-term effects or long-term as well? The smart label technology is definitely very cool, but how accessible would this be? Would this also be found in other locations like Canada or the United States or developing countries, or just in Europe? As I believe these ideas are very good.
Yes, well, this, as it is being implemented into the packaging, it has to be approved by EFCA. I mean, it has to be directly approved in order to be in contact with food. The previous solutions that we had with the chicken, it was completely approved. I mean, all the everything was, the report and everything was fine. And then with this one, when we finish with the whole development, and then we have to go through these certifications and then say that this product is safe to be in contact, directly contact with the food in this case.
All right, perfect. And there's
then
one last question. Sorry.
No, I was saying that then later you have to go obviously through all the European standards, also the American standards, depending.
All right, and there's one last question.
It's not a question, it's just a comment. Working with aroma compounds, I see many challenges, so it's just comment about it. But I'm looking forward to read the results in the deliverable. Yeah.
So that's all. If there's no more questions either in person or online, then that's the end of the webinar. Any more questions? So thank you to everyone who attended today, both in person and online. And of course, a huge thank you to our speakers who have joined us online, and of course in person. Thank you so much for being here. We will send the minutes and the recording of today's session to everyone who's registered and the speakers. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.